Welcome to the all-new Hoop Nova, your ultimate source for everything basketball.
Right after the Lakers sale, Luka Doncic released a statement that immediately caught people's attention. He said, "Being a Laker means everything to me," and that he was excited to get back on the court and bring a championship to Los Angeles. That sounds great on the surface, but there was something about the wording that felt unusual. When someone starts by reassuring everyone how much they love a situation, you naturally start wondering what is happening behind the scenes. Luka also admitted that he has gotten used to major changes over the last few years, but said he still believes there is no limit to the potential of this iconic franchise. He added that he was looking forward to meeting Josh Kushner and Bob Iger so they could start building something special together. The problem is that Luka has not even had the opportunity to sit down with the new owners and understand their vision yet. And for a superstar who has already experienced so much organizational change, having another new ownership group has to raise some serious questions. Luka has dealt with multiple different visions during his NBA career, while most players rarely have to adjust to that kind of instability. At this point, what Luka probably wants more than anything is consistency. He needs to know who is running the franchise, what the long-term plan is, and whether the organization is committed to building a championship team around him. Instead, the Lakers are entering another period of uncertainty. And then things get even more interesting when you look at the circumstances surrounding Mark Walters' departure. Reports that federal agents boarded Walters' plane and seized electronic devices as part of an investigation created another layer of questions around the timing of the Lakers' sale. The investigation itself is complicated, and there is still plenty that is unknown, but it naturally makes people wonder whether it played any role in Walters' decision to sell. Bob Iger has explained that his group was already involved in discussions about a potential Las Vegas franchise when they were approached about the possibility of Walter selling the Lakers. That raises an obvious question: who made the first call? Who knew Walter might be willing to sell? And why did the opportunity appear at that exact moment? There has been plenty of speculation surrounding Walter's financial situation and reported loans, but speculation should not be treated as proven fact. What we do know is that the Lakers' sale happened extremely quickly, and that makes the situation even more fascinating. Before the sale, Walters' group appeared to have a long-term plan for connecting the Lakers and Dodgers organizations. There were changes to facilities, shared resources, and discussions about creating a larger sports infrastructure in Los Angeles. Some of those plans now appear to be changing under the new ownership group. And that brings us back to the biggest question: what exactly do Bob Iger and Josh Kushner want to do with the Lakers? Mark Walters' approach seemed to be built around hiring smart people, giving them the resources they needed, and allowing them to run the organization. That is the type of ownership model you see with successful franchises, where the owner stays out of the basketball decisions and trusts the front office. The concern among some Lakers fans is that Iger could have a completely different approach. He is a massive figure in the entertainment industry, and there is a possibility that he wants to make his own mark on one of the biggest franchises in sports. That would not automatically be a bad thing, but the Lakers have already seen what happens when ownership becomes too involved in basketball decisions. Look at what happened with Matt Ishbia in Phoenix. After taking control of the Suns, he made aggressive moves that completely changed the roster and pushed the organization in a new direction. The Lakers cannot afford to make major decisions simply because the new owner wants to create a splash. They have Luka Doncic, and the priority should be building the right team around him. But there is another reason Lakers fans are watching Iger closely: his history with the Clippers. Iger has openly acknowledged that he was a Clippers fan after moving to Los Angeles. He grew up as a Knicks fan and viewed the Lakers as a major rival, saying that supporting the Lakers was never really part of his DNA. That is certainly an awkward quote for someone who now has a major role in the Lakers organization. Iger was a fan during the Clippers' Lob City era, when Chris Paul and Blake Griffin were leading the team, and he eventually became close friends with Paul during the pandemic. Iger and Paul reportedly discussed ideas that helped lead to the NBA bubble concept at Disney World, and they eventually presented the idea to Adam Silver. That relationship has created another interesting possibility. Chris Paul is now retired, but he remains highly respected around the NBA and has extensive experience as a leader and veteran. So could he eventually have a role with the Lakers? Maybe. It sounds unlikely right now, but the connection between Paul and Iger is real, and that makes the speculation understandable. The Lakers are now entering a completely different era, and Luka's biggest concern should be whether this new ownership group provides the stability he needs. If Iger and Kushner hire the right basketball executives, stay patient, and allow them to do their jobs, this transition could eventually work out. But if they come in trying to immediately change everything and put their personal stamp on the franchise, the Lakers could have a serious problem. Luka does not need another organization constantly changing direction around him. He needs a clear plan, a strong front office, and ownership that understands when to lead and when to get out of the way. The Lakers' sale may be finished, but the real impact of this ownership change is only beginning. And that is exactly why some people are worried about what the new Lakers ownership group might do. We have no idea whether Bob Iger and Josh Kushner will follow the Mark Walter model or take a completely different approach. But some of the concerns remind people of what happened with Matt Ishbia in Phoenix. After buying the Suns, Ishbia quickly became heavily involved, made major moves, and brought people he trusted into important positions. I am not saying the Lakers will make the same mistakes, but the difference in ownership philosophy is worth watching. Mark Walter's approach was basically to hire the smartest people available, give them the resources they need, and then stay out of the way. That is the type of ownership model most fans would probably prefer. But with the new Lakers owners, nobody really knows what their plan is yet. And if Luka Doncic and Lakers fans were hoping this sale would finally bring stability, there are already plenty of questions about what comes next. There is also something I need to clarify from my previous video because I received a lot of pushback. I argued that NBA owners do not always buy teams simply because they want to make money. When Mark Walter bought the Lakers, it seemed like he genuinely loved sports and had a long-term vision for the organization. But some people argued that owners obviously buy teams as investments, and eventually they will sell when the price is right. Honestly, I think that argument could become more accurate as NBA franchises become more expensive. If teams eventually sell for $10 or $12 billion, how many individual people can realistically afford them? At that point, investment groups and private equity funds become much more important. The NBA has already increased the amount of a team that private equity firms can own, which shows how the league is preparing for a future where franchises become too expensive for one individual to pull. Arcus. Imagine 20 years from now when most teams are owned by investment groups instead of families. Every franchise could have a CEO, a president, and executives running the organization, while ownership treats the team primarily as a financial asset. If that happens, everything becomes much more transactional. And honestly, I think fans may eventually look back at the days when families like the Buss family owned teams as a special era. Those owners treated their franchises more like a labor of love than a normal investment. Of course, there is a downside to that too. You can get an owner who becomes too emotionally involved and starts treating the team like a personal toy. That is why finding the right balance is so important. You want ownership that genuinely cares, spends money, and wants to win, but you also want them to understand that basketball decisions should be handled by basketball experts. This discussion also connects to one of the strangest arguments surrounding Luka Doncic. There is a growing take that Luka might actually be part of the problem because he has already experienced so much organizational change in a relatively short NBA career. Some people ask, if Luka is truly the superstar everyone says he is, why would so many owners eventually move on while he is on their team? Why would Mark Cuban sell the Mavericks after acquiring a player who was supposed to be a franchise cornerstone? And why would the Lakers change ownership after getting Luka? The argument is that owners would never want to sell while they have a superstar like LeBron James or Stephen Curry because those players can define an entire era. You get the championships, playoff runs, increased franchise value, and everything that comes with having an elite superstar. But I do not think the Luka argument holds up. Mark Cuban's decision to sell the Mavericks was much more likely connected to financial considerations and the massive increase in the team's valuation. The same thing applies to the Buss family. The Lakers were reportedly valued around $10 billion, which is an extraordinary amount of money. When you have a family ownership structure with multiple members, selling becomes a complicated financial decision. That does not mean they suddenly decided Luka was not good enough. The idea that multiple owners selling teams automatically proves Luka is a problem is simply too convenient. Luka is still one of the most talented players in the NBA, and I would not be surprised if he wins one or even two championships during his career. He can keep the Lakers relevant for a very long time, but he also needs a very specific roster built around him. The Lakers need the right shooters, defenders, secondary creators, coaching, and front office structure to maximize his talent. That is why the current chaos matters. The new ownership group is going to spend time figuring out its structure, while the organization is also dealing with changes involving the Lakers and Dodgers. From a basketball perspective, that can set the franchise back. Luka needs stability, but right now the Lakers have more questions than answers. If the new owners hire the right people, trust their basketball executives, and avoid unnecessary interference, this could still work out extremely well. But if they start making major decisions simply to put their own stamp on the franchise, the Lakers could have a serious problem. The sale itself may be complete, but the real test begins now.